Last year I learned that if a game is delayed by a lot, then it'll probably be shit. So after a 4-year wait for Biomutant, I was worried that this game was going to be shit. Well, I'm happy to say Biomutant isn't total trash, but it's still not very good. Biomutant was marketed as a Kung Fu Panda type game. If you're comparing your game to Kung Fu Panda, then you have caught my attention. Kung Fu Panda is one of the most badass movies I have ever seen, with the coolest fights in any movie ever. Biomutant, on the other hand, probably has the worst fights ever. The combat in this game is just lifeless and boring. Your character just glides around the screen, hitting the enemies, chopping away at their health. What makes this weightless combat even worse is that I played this game after playing God of War for the first time, which has some of the best combat I have ever felt. Biomutant tries to do a balancing act between gunplay and melee, and it never does either two of them right. The gunplay is just boring and unsatisfying. I'd always just stand back and chip away at enemy health by berating them with bullets instead of using my melee weapons, because the melee combat just puts me to sleep. The boss fights in this game are also really dumb, and they're just not fun at all. I also noticed that the mini bosses feel easier than the normal enemies, which feels kind of backwards. I think this dumpy combat would be better if there was a good reason to do the combat, but there isn't. The story in this game is simple and forgettable. I cannot remember most of these characters, except for Gizmo. The story itself is about killing a bunch of monsters to save this tree, which is fine, but they also try to cram in a tribe war, which you have to do, except you actually don't. There are about 5 other enemy tribes, and you really only have to fight 2 of them, because after you beat the second one, they all decide to be friends. This game tries to ram shallow RPG elements into it, but the RPG elements don't affect anything at all. They also tried to add this half-assed karma system, but it doesn't affect anything at all. Now, all these issues are minor in the face of the biggest issue in this game: the narrator. Why the actual fuck would you add a narrator? I understand that these animals speak another language, but they could have just added subtitles for the animals. The narrator does not shut up. He constantly talks and tells you what to do so that I, as the player, do not have to think. After the first 12 hours of playing this game, I still felt like I never left the tutorial level because the narrator still tells me what to do. Now, remember when I said the narrator was the worst part of this game? Well, I was actually lying to you. The price tag is the worst part of this game. $60 is an abysmal price for a game that feels this cheap. This is a AAA price. When you ask for this much money, I expect the highest quality game that you can make. You can't sell this game at the same price as Red Dead Redemption 2 and expect to get away with it. If this game was like $25, I'd be less harsh on it, but for $60, this game feels cheap and unfinished. But not all of Biomutant is bad though. I think these guys did a good job with visual world building. I think my favorite part was just walking around the map and trying to piece together what happened in the post-apocalyptic world. This world is really pretty, and I would stop a lot and take screenshots of the oversaturated vistas. The enemy design in this game is also really good. I have not seen such cute but also ominous creatures in my life, and I think they did a great job on this art design. I think for a first effort from a new development team, they did a decent job, but for a team of 20 people, these people had way too many big ideas and way too much ambition. I think instead of trying to shove as many big, incomplete ideas as they could into this game, the team should have put in more fully realized ideas into the game. With all of this in mind, I give Biomutants a 5.28729 out of 10.
I told you it's game over. Only like you in your suburb. Had to cut you off, now I don't give a fuck about you.